Välkommen, welcome to the Ersjon1852 project. In this third episode of part 1, we focus on the walls, mainly the inner walls. A brief update first on here and now. February 10th. It's been a stormy week. Mainly the work now has been to keep the tarps protected. They've been blowing away. We had a southerly storm for a few days. Today we have a snowy day and a lot of work to get the tarp clean again. But you can see the sun. Just wanted to add a quick view of our storage. This is all wood from the floors, from the ceilings that we're gonna reuse. And the impressive part is the size of this wood. As you can see here, it's not the normal sizing of anything. These are both wall covers and floors, of course. After we got the inner roof on the upper floor down and the insulation out of the house, we started with the walls. But before we look at the inside of the house, I just want to mention the outside. When we bought the house, all the outer boards were taken away. But it had been covered with outside panels, outside boards from the very start. The seller wanted to see how the timber looked underneath, if it was even worth saving. We found that basically those outer panels had protected the timber, so it was in general in very good condition. So let's move inside. Inside, a bit of the same thing applied. The seller had already taken down the wallpapers and the boards that were on some of the walls. Although some walls were wooden and they hadn't touched those. As you can see, in some parts it's just hanging leftovers from the wallpaper. In the kitchen, the walls were covered with these big boards of wood, and you could see that it was done in the 1800s because no board was exactly the same. Instead, they were hand fitted to fit together. Quite a masterpiece in a sense compared to what we do today. In the extra build out, the entrance part, there was another kind of wood from 1920s, where all the boards are the same and everything is straight. In Swedish, we call this kind of wood for pärlspont. Google Translate tells me it could be pearl raft in English. It's very common in the early 1900s. And it's very popular today too to use. In the kitchen, it was quite simple colors. It was just one color. But in other rooms that were more meant for guests, for show up, there was wallpaper. But the wallpaper weren't there from the start. In 1850, wallpaper was not that common out on the countryside this far north. It was later, probably in the end of the 1800s or early 1900s, they started to use more wallpaper. Before that, they used templates to color the walls. And when we took down the insulation of the insulation with sawdust, underneath there, among the newspaper, were these templates. and a lot of them. They had been used to color either on the timber, but we couldn't find any evidence of that directly on the timber or on boards. Probably they put up boards on the timber walls and then used these to color patterns. An alternative way to cover timber wall has been to use clay. You can usually then see the leftovers on the timber, but we couldn't find any evidence of that. So we think they mainly use boards of paper or masonite. We hope that we can use some of these in the new house on our walls to reconstruct a little bit of the 1852 feeling of the house. Let's go back to the wallpapers. As I said, in a lot of rooms the wallpaper were already torn down before we bought the house. But in this room, the wallpaper was straight on the wood panels, not on paper boards. So this is one example where it's quite fascinating to see how well the colors are preserved. When wallpaper became more affordable in the end of the 1800s or beginning of 1900s, people started to change wallpaper quite often if they could afford it. As you can see on these pictures, there's layers on layers of different wallpapers. It's quite hard to see how many different layers there are. It was important to show the nice rooms, the rooms you had guests in, and show that you had new wallpaper, that you redid your rooms. It was also fascinating to, as we took the house down, see how things had changed over the years. When we took the cupboards down in the kitchen, we found this red paint with splashes on it, and the entire kitchen must once have been in this color. They had also experimented with some kind of oil or lacquer in other parts of the house, and not at least these golvlist in Sweden baseboards that was hand painted once. In the next episode, we're gonna focus on floors, taking floors out. Hope you subscribe to follow us, and thank you for watching.